Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Films and Stuff podcast. I am Ethan, brought to you by my partner in crime, P for Pete. Hey, Pete, how are you doing today?
I am good. The ever-present Ethan. How are you?
Ever-present Ethan, most valuable Pete. It is our weekly stream or skip episode. I usually give you somewhere between 15 to 30 seconds to describe the rules for the new listeners, depending upon how generous I'm feeling and gauging how quickly I think you can spit it out.
Fingers crossed.
Let's try to do it 20 seconds or less today. I think you can do it. Spit out the rules. Let's hear them, Pete.
All right. Ethan and I have prepared lists of TV shows for each other to watch. We watch at least 2 episodes if it's a TV series or 30 minutes if it's a feature-length program. And on the basis of that, we determine if the show is worthy of being streamed or skipped.
Oh, wow. I don't even need to give you that long. All right. Without further ado, let's do 2 things first. Let's put into context. This year so far, we have not found any diamonds in the rough. We have watched a lot of stuff. We found some things that are, moochable. We found a lot of stuff that's been skippable. Yeah. Let's see if we can turn that around this week. You were on Netflix. You had something called The Brothers' Son. No apostrophe. It's just like the Sun Brothers, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And that's you've already hit the nail on the head. It's a pretty interesting show. So the premise is that there's a father-son duo living in Taipei. And the father is in hiding, and he's in hiding because he's the head of this gang. I don't know if it's called a triad or something like that.
Okay.
And he's the leader of this gang, and he's, as you'd expect that there's rivalry between other gang members. And to get to his father, a bunch of rival gang members attack the boy. But the boy is known in Taipei as being one of the fiercest gangsters, and he's really proficient with martial arts, and he's able to take down these gangsters very easily.
Okay.
His father comes to see him because he was like, well, someone took a shot at my son. I have to make sure my son is okay. And he questions, why did they only send 3 bad guys? And of course, it was a setup, and a sniper takes out the dad while he's at the apartment. That's pretty much the opening scene of the show. It's pretty cool, actually.
Okay.
So the father isn't killed, but he's put into a coma. So the son goes to LA to protect his mother and his younger brother.
Okay.
Then flash forward to LA. And you see that his mother is working hard to make ends meet as a nurse.
Okay.
His brother is this young, dumb idiot who's I want to take improv classes. Tee-hee. He's this comical moron. And he has no idea that his brother and his father are this head of this huge criminal organization in Taiwan. He thinks that his brother is a biologist working with the penguins in the Antarctic. And it's because his mother and the family think that the younger brother is soft and sensitive, so they want to protect him from that life.
So he's got this sheltered life, doesn't realize that his family is in a life of crime.
In a life of crime. Exactly. Okay. He's the only one. So it's kind of like a fish out of water kind of scenario.
Yep.
And then, of course, the older brother has to go there. And as you'd expect, trouble follows him.
What's the tone of this? Is this a comedy or is this a serious drama?
So far, it sounds like a serious drama.
Yeah, the summary sounds solid.
Right? It sounds really solid. But did you ever watch that movie Rush Hour with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan?
I did. Yeah.
So this screamed Rush Hour to me, which was to say it's got a mix of solid drama and serious action with a healthy dose of pretty funny comedy.
Okay.
right? And the comedy comes from the fact that the younger brother is like this inept moron who doesn't really know what's going on and who's kind of living in his own world and has his own flights of fancy
Okay.
and doesn't realize that he's a part of like this really strong, impressive criminal network.
Do I know the younger son? Who's the younger son?
I don't know any of the actors in this TV series except for Michelle Yeoh.
Oh, yeah.
Michelle Yeoh is the only one that I recognized.
Okay.
That's what I mean. So the show, the premise automatically off the bat, pretty good because then
Yep.
it becomes a question of the brother and the mother have to kind of figure out, sorry, the older brother and the mother have to try to figure out who's trying to take out their dad and
Yeah.
who's made this attack. He's assuming it's one gang, but I think it's going to be someone else and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot going on.
Hmm.
The visuals are phenomenal. Like the fight sequences are pretty spectacular. You
Oh, really?
wouldn't think of this as just like a TV series. The
Yeah.
production is fantastic. The camera work is excellent. The costume design, all of that stuff. It's got that impressively difficult combination of funny and serious. It harkens back to like the 90s Lethal Weapon kind of thing where it's serious, but there's some dark comedy and there's some outright slapstick kind of stuff that
Mm-hmm.
really makes sense. So that's why I thought of Rush Hour.
Okay.
Here's the problem.
Uh,
2 months after release, Netflix canceled it.
oh, that's got to piss you off. That
It
is
pissed
your
me off
big.
to no end. And I found out accidentally, and I wish I hadn't because I watched the first 2 episodes. I loved it. I was about to message you. And then I went on to IMDb while I was about to message you, just to, I'd like to check out the trivia. I like to see who's in it, all that
Right.
kind of thing. And one of the first articles that came up was season 2 canceled.
Is your rating based on season 2 being canceled, or your rating is based on season 1 by itself?
It's a little bit of both. So
Uh,
this is a really strong mooch.
okay.
Had season 2 not been canceled, I would be very tempted to push it to a must subscribe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, having only watched 2 episodes, I will caveat that. Normally, when I like a show this much, I would have watched all of them. But when I read that it got canceled, all of a sudden my enthusiasm got super dampened.
Yeah. For listeners who don't know, like Pete, the thing that sets you off is when you know a show is not renewed or canceled, you lose interest right away and you can't get going on it.
And the reason is because they're setting this up to also be kind of like a mystery.
Oh.
So I am deathly afraid I'm going to get to that 8th episode and it's going to be some kind of big cliffhanger that they were supposed to solve in season 2. And then what? And the show, I don't want to say it's expensive to make, but it certainly wouldn't have been cheap because it looks really good.
Okay.
I'm doubtful that someone else is going to come along and be like, okay, I'll take the show off of Netflix's hand.
It's not a foreign language film, is it?
No,
Or a
all
foreign
English.
language series.
All
Yeah.
English. There are some parts in the Taipei opening sequence, which is all done
Yeah.
in Mandarin,
Yeah.
but there's, it's got the slick
Subtitles.
subtitles and things like
Yeah.
that. So it's not off-putting at all.
Okay. You've given it a mooch.
I've
The
given it a
brothers.
mooch. Is this a good show?
son.
I will finish it. There's no
Oh,
question
really?
in my mind because I did find it refreshing to watch that blend of action and comedy.
Okay. Okay, so that's The Brother's Son on Netflix. Solid mooch. Pete will finish the season.
How about you? How was the hunt for John Wilkes Booth?
Yeah, so I was on Apple TV Plus this week. You assigned me Manhunt, which is the, let's say, historically based tale of John Wilkes Booth in the aftermath of the Abraham Lincoln assassination. So let me set the scene because these historical dramas are always a little bit touchy for the reason that, there's the potential that history is revised or not portrayed accurately. Apple TV Plus here has, made the appropriate disclaimers, and they're not saying it's based on a true story. They are saying it is the story, but they're not saying this is everything exactly how it happened, but they're trying to make it an accurate story. But of course, I think everyone is aware that, there was an assassination of Abraham Lincoln. And of course, the assassination has been, well chronicled, just like the assassination of JFK. It's the aftermath of, John Wilkes Booth. If you don't know the story, John Wilkes Booth was an actor at the time, and he actually assassinated Abraham Lincoln while he was in the theater watching another play or production, and then he escaped. And Manhunt shows the aftermath of how everyone, including law enforcement and the Abraham Lincoln, White House and cabinet, tracked him down, and shows a different side of John Wilkes Booth, right? So again, it's intended to be historically accurate in the broad strokes, but no one is saying, this is exactly what he did moment by moment. This is exactly the dialogue he had with all the people that he came across. So in that sense, it's a little bit of a dramatization, but it's based on, the actual manhunt and, kind of how it played out. So from a historical perspective, it's really fascinating. And one of the things that I think would strike you the way that it strikes me is kind of like how simple things were. I mean, the things that we take for granted in terms of kind of like tracking people down. I mean, right? I mean, he used a horse to get away. So it just kind of puts into context, I mean, how difficult law enforcement was back then, to try to pick up clues, to try to track things down. It was primarily based on effort and canvassing the region. There's no digital footprint, of course. I mean, even like horse footprints, there's really nothing to go by, right? So the fact that they could kind of track him down after the assassination was actually quite interesting how they did it. It helped, of course, that he was a famous actor at the time, or maybe I should say he was an actor at the time. His degree of fame is up for debate. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was certainly well known that people recognized him when he did it, but he wasn't like the Tom Cruise of his time. He was a solid kind of B-list. Oh, I recognize him. Wasn't he in that, recently kind of thing. The guy who plays John Wilkes Booth is Anthony Boyle. He was in Masters of the Air. He plays a great Wilkes Booth, I thought. I mean, he does a very, very good job. Abraham Lincoln, of course, is featured at the beginning, and his Secretary of War is a chap named Tobias Menzies, who is really kind of like the main character in all of this. So after the assassination goes down, you see a few jump cuts, to kind of get to know Lincoln and to see him, but Lincoln is absolutely not the focus. The focus is really Edwin Stanton. He's really kind of the guy who's leading the manhunt, who's kind of pulling everything together in the White House in the absence of Lincoln. It's a very, very solid series. I watched 2 episodes. I'm in. It's not a must subscribe for me for a few reasons. One of them is, I mean, it's a period piece, right? There's a lot of horses. There's a lot of plantations. It's historical, right? So, I mean, you have to kind of be willing to deal with stuff like that. The second reason is, and I've read this in a few places when I was doing my review, there's a lot of jump cuts. And what I mean is you see present day, and then you go back 2 weeks, and then you go back 10 days. There's a lot of different cuts to kind of show the context and the backstory. A lot of the reviews I read were very negative on the cuts, that they're not really in order, that they're a little bit hodgepodge, and some of them are clearly labeled, some of them are not labeled.
Sorry to interrupt. So when you say present day, you mean present day April 1865? When does
yes.
this take? Not present day as in 2024.
Yeah, not present day 2024. Present day like 1865 when they're actually undertaking the manhunt.
Got it. Okay.
So overall, again, I think it's a very, very well put together series. I mean, obviously it's only 1 season. I may finish it, but I'm not going to make it a priority to finish. Okay. I mean, for a few reasons. One, as with all historical pieces, the ending, right?
Yeah.
Which shouldn't really prejudice you from watching the show because it's really the journey that you're watching. But again, there's not like this urgency to see how it ends because you know how it ends. So
Yeah.
it's okay to have a little bit of delayed gratification in a way. I like the show. It's just not, I think, enough for me to get to a must subscribe. But certainly if you need something to watch, if you're looking for something that's not going to disappoint or let you down, I would say that this is a very, very strong option. If you're not willing to take a lot of risks and a lot of chances in getting into something that you actually don't like, I don't think anyone would really start watching this and be like, I'm not at all into the story. It's terrible. I had to turn it off. It may not be their thing, either because of historical reasons or period reasons. So that is Manhunt, Apple TV Plus. I have given it a mooch, but there's a lot to like about it.
Can I give you a piece of trivia?
I would love your piece of trivia.
So did you know that John Wilkes Booth's younger brother, Edwin, saved Abraham Lincoln's son, Robert, from a train accident in New Jersey, maybe the year after the assassination?
Huh. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that is Streamer Skip. Can I make a few comments before we get our new assignments?
Yeah, of course.
I have gone back in some of our historical Streamer Skips just to maybe watch another episode or two and make sure that I'm comfortable with my ratings. And I just want to make a few general comments, if you don't mind. Baby Reindeer, which you had on Netflix.
Yeah.
I have downgraded to a skip.
Oh, okay.
I had it initially as a mooch, and I think I watched the first 2 episodes. I think I watched another 1.5, and I downgraded it to a skip for the reason that it's starting to get a little bit dark and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it wasn't entertaining anymore. It was more like rubbernecking just to see like how crazy this lady was. So I downgraded that to a skip. I watched another episode of Grey. I kept it as a mooch. I watched Obliterated. I originally had as a mooch and I downgraded it to a skip. Then I watched a little bit more of The Gentleman, which remember is the Guy Ritchie series on Netflix. I kept that as a mooch. All right, Pete, what are the assignments now?
So next week you are going to Amazon Prime, where you will be watching an older Billy Bob Thornton show called Goliath.
Billy Bob, he's a lawyer, right?
He's a lawyer in this show, yeah.
All right, looking forward to that. It's good to see Billy Bob.
Yeah, exactly. And I am watching a new series on Apple TV called The Big Cigar.
I chose it for you because it's on Apple TV Plus.
It sounds like one of those Humphrey Bogart style movies, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Apple TV Plus, I mean, I think we did this when we did our streamies last year. Always quality stuff. It may not be exactly your bag, but like the shows are very well done. I had this year, I had Manhunt. I had Criminal Record, which is very well done, just not my British cop detective drama style. I had Palm Royale, which unfortunately, right, with Kristen Wiig, which was, I put a skip for that, but it was really well done. Remember, Ricky Martin was in that.
Yeah.
And then I had Masters of the Air. I gave it a mooch, even though I really liked it. Not quite a must subscribe level, but I gave it a mooch. So Apple TV Plus rarely has a straight up fail. You had The New Look, which you did give a skip. So it'll be interesting to see The Big Cigar here, because maybe we've given Apple TV Plus a little bit of a free ride based on its laurels. Maybe the new stuff hasn't been so great.
I also think that Apple TV Plus, the skips aren't skips because they're bad shows. They're more skips because they're not our bag. You know, like Netflix has done a lot of stuff which is just, in our opinion, objectively bad.
Yeah, it's just rubbish.
And I think that, you know, like The New Look, for example, or Palm Royale, for example, very well produced shows. Yeah. But, you know, it's just genres and subject matters which may be not super interesting to us as reviewers.
Yeah.
And again, I also think that Apple TV really made a niche for themselves in their first couple years on sci-fi, not on these kinds of shows. Like this is
Oh, yeah.
something
For All
I could see
Mankind.
them
Yeah.
doing on like a Hulu or maybe
Yeah.
even like an AMC kind of,
Yeah.
one of those even more niche platforms, or
Yeah.
maybe even a Paramount Plus.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you say that because, when I think of like For All Mankind was on Apple TV Plus, but so was Blackbird, right? So a lot
Yeah.
of these are, like Criminal Record is definitely a one series show.
Yeah.
Manhunt is a one series or a one season, I should say. Even Masters of the Air, I don't know if you could make a second season out of that. I mean, you probably could, just like Band of Brothers had like so many seasons, but a lot of these are, apart from Palm Royale, are really kind of like by definition.
Miniseries, yeah.
Yeah, they're miniseries. And I wonder if that's cutting against it in some way.
Well, let's see. I'll report back to you guys next week on
All
the
right.
Big Cigar, and we'll see from there
Big Cigar for Pete, Goliath.
on Amazon Prime.
All right. Listeners, we need some feedback. Tell us what you want us to review, or tell us if you agree with what we've reviewed. Pete, I always lean on you to give our social media creds. Do you mind reminding our listeners where they can reach out to us?
Absolutely. You can tweet at us at FNS Podcast. You can DM us on Films and Stuff Podcast. The best thing, however, is leave a comment below, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell.
That is it for me and Pete on this week's episode of Stream or Skip. Tune in to the Films and Stuff Podcast next week. We've got a lot more that we're going to be reviewing. No spoilers, though.
Indeed.
Okay? Thanks, everyone, for joining. Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Bye now.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.